We don't often talk specifically about Wowhead or other community sites here, we usually stick to the game. But this time, I think we actually do need to, because Wowhead is changing. And you need to know that Wowhead does not own Wowhead. ZAM does. Wowhead's site director was just laid off, and much like how fandom being shit led to WoW.
Yeah, and Wowhead became shit when ZAM took over. Let's be real.
Moving over to wiki.gg, this is in some ways a story of corporate enshittification. It's a wild one. It even has, well, one of the worst Jeffreys there's ever been. And I'm not talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. And to set the tone, here is a quote from one of Wowhead's most pivotal team members who was there for...
He's got a point. There's a lot of bad Jeffreys out there. I'm gonna have to make sure that my future husband is not called Jeff. No dating Jeff, because they seem to be bad people.
a decade, and whose work you have absolutely almost certainly used or experienced. The quote is, "ZAM has truly broken me." So yeah, this is a serious one.
Okay,
now,
so
as I'm sure you know, Wowhead's been fairly important to most of us, and for longer than many people have even been playing. If you need something, anything...
Actually, I don't even care anymore. I barely play the game. I barely look at Wowhead. And, yeah. But I did care for a long time, so hence why I'm watching.
You can generally trust that Wowhead will have it. Sometimes it's their own content, a guide maybe that their writing team has put together.
Although I will say they really went downhill when it stopped being WoW. Like, come on. It's called a Wowhead. Why is there Diablo? And, like, the Blizzard news kind of made sense. You know, whatever. Blizzard news and WoW made sense. But to have Diablo in there, and there's like so many games they cover now, and then there's like the PTR that gets to be a jumbled mess, you know, and yeah, they're just reporting on absolutely everything, which that's around the time when I stopped paying attention.
Over the PTR, maybe some data mining gathered and then posted instantly. All the other times, well, could be a user comment in their insanely comprehensive database of quests, abilities, items, everything. I mean, hell, even Blizzard support just links you to Wowhead whenever you're stuck. It's the absolute #1 in the scene, the undisputed leader in what it does, and in terms of the utility it provides, it does belong there. Or at least it did. For the last while, people have been questioning if it still deserves its place. One of the most common complaints, and it's been one for years upon years, is the actual site experience. If you don't use an ad blocker, it is an unfortunately miserable time. On mobile, only about half your screen.
I have an ad blocker, but I would actually support them until they pissed me off, and then I dropped my support. But I did actually pay into it, which wasn't even that much. It was like $9 a year. It was like nothing. Yeah, but it does make the experience better. But yeah, you can just use your ad blockers too. Yeah, but because I used it every day, and back then I was using it even more than I normally would, because I was doing like the WoW news videos every Monday. So I was like, fuck it, take my support. But then they started being more focused on always having something to report every day than to just have good stuff. And I'm a full believer, and this goes for like content as well, like videos and stuff. Like, it is always better to post good videos or good streams or whatever the case may be, rather than just be there every day just because, you know. And that's, they would just post like random bullshit, or post the same thing like 5 fucking times in one day. Yeah.
Is usable, and that's if you're lucky. Desktop isn't as bad to look at, but it's still bloated with layers upon layers of ads. It can take multiple seconds to load, even on our insanely fast in-office connection on a high-end PC where it's a dedicated business connection. And it is mostly because of ads.
Why wouldn't you just use ad block? Because I'm gonna say, like, you're talking top end PC. I don't have any of these issues. Like, as far as that part goes, I think their site runs pretty smoothly. So your top end PC must be crap.
Turn them off, and load times go from over 5 seconds down to 0.7.
Either
now,
that or
obviously,
your
I'm not
internet
against
is.
Wowhead being monetized. It should be monetized. It provides real value. It's worked on by real people who deserve to have their jobs supported by income. Obviously, as we've all experienced in the internet, it can lead to a pretty bad time for users, and that is a medium to long-term problem. The other complaint, though, especially recently, has been content quality. They've been filling downtime with opinion pieces that some would say feel half-lifted straight from the top few Reddit posts. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but
that comment was like gold right there. That's the reason I would go to Wowhead. Let's go back to it. It's the comments that make it great. That is literally the reason I would go. As far as like info, I'm a WoW player and have been for 21 years. I can get the info myself without going to a guide, you know. But Wowhead was really good for like seeing the ragey people. Yeah, the people that get butthurt over everything.
straight from the top few Reddit posts. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but they're often seen as a way to fluff out views. Class guides, often one of their strongest draws, have definitely been lacking as of late. Certain specs of talent builds with next to no explanation of why choices are made. Some are absolutely still top-notch, but it's still kind of random depending on who the writer is, and then of course, things that we can't know, like the timelines, the conditions, etc., that go into the guide existing. Certain DPS, like say Windwalker, get a ton of guidance on their defensives. They're one of the lucky.
I will say, and I don't know if he's going to say this or maybe people don't even realize it, but the people that do the class guides, they suck. Yeah, I have seen so many fucking mistakes in the balanced druid guides that are on Wowhead. And maybe that's just because I've been playing a balanced druid for 21 years and I probably know more than the person writing the guide. But like, yeah, some of those guides are just absolute trash. You know.
Few, though. The point here is, most people would agree that it's getting worse in quality. There are a whole lot of reasons why, and I'll talk about those today. But first, there's that bit of bad news. Because just a few weeks ago, the person largely responsible for its past success was laid off. Perculia, the site director, announced that she was one of the wave.
Oh, damn, I didn't know. Fuck. She's the one that's like been with it for the longest. Yeah.
Of layoffs by ZAM. ZAM being Wowhead's Lord and Master.
That's crazy that she got hit with the layoff because she's done the most work at Wowhead. Yeah, like she is a Wowhead, you know, like that's crazy. I did not know about that. I do not pay attention to Twitter, so yeah.
Or should I say, corporate owner.
And I haven't been playing WoW for like a month, so yeah.
And looking at the replies, people are a mixture of surprised and heartbroken, and that even includes current and former Blizzard employees thanking her for her work over the years.
Right?
Which is not a surprise. Perculia's peculiar signet was added into the game way back in Mists of Pandaria as a honor for her contributions. And it's largely accepted that the site is what it is today because of, well, things that were happening.
Well, yeah, because I remember her back when she used to do a podcast with Trade Chat, who, like, you never see her anymore. She's on Facebook now, I think. But, well, the last time that I heard a mention of her. But that's around the timeline when I, discovered Perculia.
while she was steering the ship.
And
if we've
she
learned
is
anything
pretty
as a
good.
community lately, it's that you can't run a ship without a captain. WoW had
Exactly.
no creative director for a while, and, well, it's no coincidence that that was some of the game's darkest hours. WoW is obviously still struggling to find its bearings years later. It shows the sort of damage that a lack of leadership can do. Obviously, she was the captain, but she also had her crew. She had tech people like Steven who were working on data mining and database things, solving problems that nobody else could solve. Plenty of work was done in the community by absolute legends like Marleman of WoW.Tools
Did these
fame,
two get
and
laid off
Wowhead
too?
was already a big deal before really any of that. There was really Perk and hers, that group, that turned it into an unbeatable content machine. Their writers and data miners have internal tools that let them post their findings lightning fast. And on the user side, talent calculators and entire databases are updated immediately with every current WoW build available on the Blizzard servers. The Wowhead add-on collects data from thousands of users so that we can track loads of things, like drop rates, rare spawn locations. If you ever need anything WoW, Wowhead...
Right, that's exactly it. So many people have asked me in streams, oh, what's the drop rate on this and what's the drop rate on that? None of us would know. Well, none of us do know the drop rate, but we can guess at the drop rate because players report their drops, and that's about the closest we get because Blizzard will never tell us the real drop rate. And without players going to the site to report their drops, you wouldn't even have a good guess at it. You could be guessing like 10% and it could be 0.03. You know, like the only reason we even know a realistic drop rate or even somewhat close is because of that site.
Generally was and is your answer. And as the premier site, they were able to recruit and pay the best guide and class writers, meaning that you needed absolutely nothing else.
Yeah, because it used to be a hobby site, and then it became like an actual job for some people.
Really. They all had drive, from Perk to the staff, and the financial backing to make it all happen. And that's why I have to talk about who actually pulls the strings. The ZAM network, then. It has a complicated history. You see, the first seed of it was an Everquest site called Allakhazam. By 2006, it was ZAM, the subsidiary content network that was owned by a firm called Internet Gaming Entertainment. And boy, it's a story. IGE was founded in 2001 by a dot-com investor named Brock Pierce, who was actually a child actor from the Mighty Ducks. Now, you may not remember MMOs in the early 2000s, but to call it a Wild West is almost an understatement. And where there is an unexplored frontier, there's obviously money. IGE was at the very forefront of selling virtual items and currency. Pierce & Co. spent millions and millions buying up competing sites, and yes, even platforms and fan sites like Thoughtbot. There was an obvious logic. Control the sites people use to find items and prices, and you kind of control the market. It's vital data, and it was all done using the money he got from his time at another place called Digital Entertainment Network. Incidentally, DEN was shut down following a heavily suppressed documentary that levied insane allegations against its founder. The 2000s were a wild ride. Anyway, by the time Wowhead was bought, it was 2007, and the purchase was all part of IGE getting cleaned up. You see, in 2006, they brought Steve Bannon in as CEO. Yes, that's Steve Bannon. And this was to court some investments, such as from Goldman Sachs. Shortly after, though, a lot of chaos went down. Pierce was ousted, and IGE was no more. They were now Affinity Media, and they were out of the gold-selling business. Not that everyone believed them at the time, and Wowhead's CEO certainly had to do a lot of damage control. Anyhow, ZAM nabbed Wowhead for its content for $1 million. So, with that spent, it was time to make some content, get some ad revenue. So here's how it happened. Thoughtbot's database was rebranded and rolled into Wowhead. Perk and loads of other staff were then brought on to get the whole thing rolling, and Brock Pierce had long moved on to bigger and better things, like helping Epstein. Yes, that one. It's specifically
Yes.
helping him invest in crypto.
Back to the Jeffs.
Suppose it's a small island in a small world. But returning to the main thread, by 2012, Perk had become Wowhead's content manager and was leading it to major success for ZAM. They had spun up a submodel to help pay the bills and started advertising heavily, but by all accounts, they were totally legit, massively popular, and incredibly profitable. Shockingly so, in fact. But then, a different controversial figure got involved. In 2012, the overall owner, Affinity, sent ZAM Network on a journey to the east. At least in financial terms. Tencent, the Chinese tech and mobile gaming giant, were investing crazy amounts of money into Western gaming, and ZAM was part of their plan. Sadly, the deal is entirely private, so we don't really know the details, but, I mean, you can almost guarantee that a lot of money exchanged hands.
Right?
Back then, though, Tencent were actually known for being hands-off. If you were profitable, they were happy to let you do your thing. All that they wanted was fingers in the Western gaming pie. Of course, they're a big corporation, so what do they want? They want diversification in their various revenue streams, and a great source of diversification is being active in different regions of the world. So as far as Wowhead was concerned, nothing truly major changed. Until, that is, the year of 2018, when a new name for ZAM appeared. That name was Fanbyte. So ZAM was now one company with two brands doing two distinct things. Fanbyte was the public-facing media site covering game news and editorials, while ZAM was in the background working with game companies directly. Obviously, Wowhead was a bit closer to the Fanbyte side. Or so we thought, because 2022 actually changed that. Now, first, you've got to understand the money side of things. During COVID, people played a whole lot more video games than usual. Every line shot up, and very fast. That drove gaming executives.
I said that to, I think it was Arsenal I said it to, because back in 2020, we were playing New Horizons, because New Horizons had come out. And it was selling so fast that they sold out of consoles, because there were non-gamers buying the Nintendo Switch because they were bored and had nothing else to do. They were stuck inside, right? So they were taking up the hobby of gaming. And yeah, so gaming was huge because you had people who normally wouldn't game were starting to game. You know, that's, I wonder, is that where all the older people came from? Because there was kind of a spike in like 80-year-olds all of a sudden doing content, right? There was like a huge spike there, and it all kind of happened in COVID. Yeah.
Completely insane. Everyone suddenly had a ton of money and explosive market growth, so it kicked off an unbelievable burst of investment. One that was obviously a bubble, and it's a bubble that I think broadly we're kind of still feeling the fallout from today. Now, Tencent found themselves on a giant pile of mobile gaming cash, and they wanted to make it useful. So they went on a shopping spree. And we all know what happens after one of those. You look at your account, you panic, and then you're eating delicious ice soup for a while. Tencent kind of did the same. Nothing existential,
I never go
but
on shopping
post-COVID
sprees, so I
happened and
wouldn't
they
know.
needed to tighten their belt. So, in September 2022, Fanbyte was completely gone.
I don't know. I do go on a Steam shopping spree every June, I guess. But yeah, I'm not a stupid spender. Like who does that? And then you're like all worried? Like, pay attention to your finances, people.
With almost zero notice. All that remained was search engine friendly guides and low effort aggregate news. Thankfully, Wowhead survived unscathed. Why? Well, because they're profitable. Fanbyte was basically a failed attempt to get a Wowhead for loads of other games. In fact, one attempt at doing that did survive the purge, and that is their FF14 site, which did keep up with an active database and feature development. But now, it's 4 years after that went down, and the golden goose, Wowhead, has lost Perculia and other key staff. What changed? Why? Well, in classic YouTube title fashion, what changed was everything.
She wanted too much money.
The internet of today is unrecognizable compared to a decade ago, and you probably know what I mean, right? What used to be laughed at.
You know what changed is probably AI, right? Like, do they even need people to run that shit other than a few? Yeah, thinking on it. And we'll see where he goes with this, but you know, AI has come a long way and you can do a lot of stuff. AI could run some sites for sure.
For being, I don't know, BuzzFeed clickbait trash, is basically just now the entire written internet. Top 10 lists, vapid culture war pieces, you name it, right? Cheap, easy stuff. Traditional gaming media has been beaten and battered more times than we can really keep track of. For years now, the corporate owners like Future, Ziff Davis, and Valnet have been constantly in the news for buying media brands and then almost instantly laying off key figures for a very short-term gain. You ever wonder why it feels the quality of work has went down? Do you ever wonder why it feels everything is SEO optimized guides and that sort of thing? Well, this is basically the reason. Now, this year, there have been more layoffs across just about every major firm in the space, and it's all with a fairly clear point. Investigative journalism, expert opinion pieces, and cool features are all expensive things, and the bean counters have decided that they're simply not worth it. And the worst part is, on the immediate financial level, they're certainly right. Now, I think supporting expensive...
Man, I'd love to see Wowhead go down and yeah. I love Wowhead, don't get me wrong, but WoW people, WoW players would be lost without Wowhead. Wowhead is almost like an add-on. Like a lot of people can't play without their add-ons. More people can play without add-ons than they could play without a Wowhead site that they could go to. Yeah. Because a lot of people contribute to Wowhead. Like, your everyday person contributes, right? It's not just these people that they pay. There's a lot of free help. I've been one of them where I, throw up a guide or whatever up there, and yeah, if if it ever died completely, oh my god, I just want to see it go down for like a month, and then they can bring it back up.
High quality content is important to building good products and brands that will make customers.
And it has to be the month that a new big patch comes out. Okay? Just do that for me. Higher power. Just do that. The, 12-1, day 1, Wowhead goes down. Bring it back up a month later, and let's see the numbers. Let's see how many people continued playing that month.
Happy, and importantly, actually last over time. A little bit of an important thing, but that is obviously not what the owners of these sites really care about. To them, these sites are just ad farms with value to extract. Quite simply, they get a lot of clicks right now or they go bust. And of course, ads aren't what they used to be. Wowhead isn't covered in ads because the guide writers want to take the company yacht to BlizzCon.
Ads suck, man. I have my ad block that gets, contains most of them. But there's like some of those sites where you'll go to. Generally, it's like a gaming site, honestly. Some journalist site. And then you'll scroll down and it'll stop you. And it'll be like, oh, this is premium service. I exit off the page right away. Those ads do not work on me. Yeah. I know that for every piece of info you ever want to know online, I know there's multiple pages you can get it off of. I'm not going to pay into a page to get it off of that page. I will just exit your page and go to another page that will give me that info without that annoyance,
No, it's to keep the books balanced enough that Tencent don't dump them. Now, as easy as it is to blame all this solely on faceless corporate greed, there is a real downturn behind it too. And that's that over the last decade, the ad market has been a constant battleground. Sites get more aggressive ads, so, well, people make and use more aggressive ad blockers. Click farms get more sophisticated. Click farms, of course, are often used to basically scam advertisers, and that means that ads get more aggressive about detecting real clicks and real views.
Yahoo!
I mean,
Do
one of the
people still
existential
use
threats
that?
to, say, Twitch, and one of the reasons why so many brands have abandoned Twitch, well, that's causing a lot of problems in the streamer space, is view botting, because the brands want to know that whenever they're getting views on their thing, that those views are real. That
Right.
obviously impacts websites too. Of course, attention has moved away from digital text over towards video. It's moved from long-form video often to short-form video, and sometimes then back to long-form so that people have something on in the background while they watch their shorts. Who knows? It's pure chaos, though, that's the point.
I'm bad for that. I'll run a YouTube video over on this monitor, and then I'll be on this monitor prepping edits. Or scheduling streams. Like, yeah, I definitely don't watch videos. Yeah, I listen to them, but the only time I actually watch videos is right now we're watching a video. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty much just sound.
And ad-supported sites are struggling to keep up. And now the latest enemy is the mass tide of AI slop. That's the case in a whole ton of ways, but it is the case in a very specific and important way here. The backbone of advertising for games media for the longest time has been high-volume SEO articles getting as many people as possible onto a site. Now, Google uses AI to remove that step. If you want to know how to get Ascendant Void Cores, you don't even need to click through to Wowhead, because Google will pull the information out of Wowhead.
I've noticed that too. This is how I like get all my info now, because I've noticed that I don't have to really worry about ads because AI can just tell me whatever the fuck I need to know. Sometimes they're not completely accurate though. Sometimes it's kind of funny what AI will tell you. Yeah.
And just present it there on the search page, meaning you never have to go to Wowhead, meaning there's never any ad revenue for Wowhead. Now I get there's times where that's actually kind of convenient for people, they just get the answer that they want fairly quickly. But of course it's bad news for the website, which is no longer being clicked on.
It won't always work that way, because there are some things in WoW that require like 20 steps. That's where Wowhead will still be beneficial, but yeah, with the AI, overview, I guess it's called, you can find out anything that's like a semi-short answer. Yeah, you'll find out from there. And honestly, I like it. It's like, it's not like Wowhead does anything for me. Yeah. Yeah. I have no problems getting my answers from AI overview. I just think it's unfortunate that that they got laid off, because they do work hard on that site, and that site has been beneficial to a lot of people over the years. But me myself, like, I don't go on it super often, other than to research things that I'm gonna report news on, right? Like, I've always been the kind of player that I find out the stuff in game on my own. But for people that like written guides, I guess, or, or just people commenting, telling them how to do something, it's beneficial.
And of course, that means the money goes down, and eventually that'll mean that those sites no longer really exist.
Although, actually, I shouldn't say they don't do anything for me. They do, actually. Yeah, there are some people that have found my videos because of Wowhead. So yeah, I'll take back that comment. I forgot about that aspect. It's so easy to forget about it when you're still a small creator. So If it had hugely jumped my channel up, then I'd be like, "Oh, thank you, Wowhead. You're the best." But but when it's just like a tiny bit, yeah, you forget that they had any part in like that 0.1% of it.
This, they no longer fund content. One maybe thinks of the Ouroboros eating its own tail, right? So the internet as we know it is under existential threat. The problem is, we just don't have an answer right now. It very much seems a large part of the advertising-based model is falling to pieces. And I guess
I think it'll be fine. I say what I say, and I would still love to see it go down for a month just for shits and giggles. But Wowhead will survive. People will always want to get paid, and they will hire at least enough people to keep it running. And WoW people will have nowhere else to go. And those other sites that are like Wowhead are not as good as Wowhead. And yeah, yeah. Not to mention, not everyone knows about those other sites. The average player knows about Wowhead because it's been around for so long. So they're always going to have, the WoW players. And now they have like Diablo players that go there because it's not just WoW anymore. So yeah, it's the unfortunate part is like there's always bad decisions. There's always people being laid off. There's always corruption, and the reality is the bad guys always win in the end because money talks, and yeah, they'll be fine. Plus, like I said, WoW players have nowhere else to go that'll have like decent info. Not to mention, you got to keep in mind that it's not like it's just new info only. There's 21 years of WoW guides on there. So you got new players that can get every piece of info they ever want out of that site. So even if they fired every last person today, they'd still have 21 years of fucking old content info on that site. Yeah. So it'll go forever.
well, we can only guess what the landscape's going to look like in a few years, because the direction of travel is certainly one of games media and many game sites just dying off. So it's only natural then that if SEO heavy advertising is how you make your money, that, well, you kind of pull back and work on another plan. Here's the thing. Tencent ZAM do actually have a plan. And to find out what the plan is, you just need to go to their site and look. Fanbyte was the public-facing ad-supported model. That's what they gutted in 2022. Wowhead is also a public-facing ad-supported model, and it's been hit hard in 2026. But as we've covered, Wowhead was so big and so successful that it was insulated from the worst of what went down in 2022. But of course, it's not just Fanbyte. ZAM's other avenue skips the customer. They go straight to the business, and they provide B2B, that means business to business, community services. This is things like building Discord servers, Reddit communities, and X followings, primarily for gacha games. Lovely.
Of course.
It's all done behind the curtain. They get paid directly by the games companies that they work for instead of relying on ad revenue. I genuinely don't know where Wowhead fits in this relationship. They have a good relationship with Blizzard, sure, but they're still an outlier in the business model of their overall company. And if that's obvious to us, then they'll be thinking about all this as well. Unless, of course, Tencent are holding on to Wowhead just
I'm just gonna say, like, if you ever need a reason of WoW going like deeper and deeper under, like, yeah, it's like the game's getting worse. There's microtransactions getting worse. There's housing that's a complete ripoff. And now the main site that people go to for info is going to get worse. And it's already been worse even before they laid off all those people. And yeah, it's like, what's next? Canceling BlizzCon?
to, I don't know, spite NetEase, their
Don't
Chinese
come at
competitor who
me if
actually
that
runs
ends
World of
up being our
Warcraft in
next
China.
video.
But somehow I don't really think that's true. But what we can deduce from this is that while Wowhead is still the profitable king of WoW, things will work just fine. But of course, I don't know if it's going to stay that way, because this is a Ship of Theseus problem. The question really is, do we need Wowhead in its current form? A few years ago, I would have said yes without a second thought. Today, I'm less sure. Their data mining posts are excellent, but a lot.
I say no. He said in the current form. I say no. While I do very much believe, well, it's not even belief, it's fact. Wowhead is, or WoW has been going, down the shitter for many, many years now. The reality is, one good thing they have done is they've made the new experience and the catch-up experience a little better. And because of that, you don't need Wowhead. Yeah, things are easy. You're spoon-fed things in the game. You don't need to look shit up anymore. If you do, you're just a bad player. And yeah, you should be able to figure out everything in game because they have made it so much easier now to figure that shit out. Yeah, there's guidance in the game now. So yeah, I think you could live without Wowhead. I just don't think that'll happen, I think at the very least they'll keep it up for the old content. Because it's, like I said before, it's got 21 years of guides. And that's of everything in the game. Not too many people have played every single little bit of content over the past 21 years, right? So they could still make money off of that.
A lot of it is now done over on the community Discord. Their database is incredible, but that doesn't take a massive team to keep running, and it sure doesn't need a slew of writers. Their class and spec guides are losing steam and relevance compared to more data-driven sources like Archon.gg and Murloc.io. And some of that I say.
To be fair, Wowhead does not do anything that there aren't add-ons for. I have some add-ons that, hence why my loading screen's slow sometimes. Some of those add-ons are guides. They are legit, guides that you would find on Wowhead. Same with the class. There's add-ons that tell you exactly how to gear. There's there's many add-ons that can do exactly what Wowhead does. You just would lose out on the comments. But I guess you got Reddit for that. Reddit, there is WoW pages on Reddit, so it would just turn into that. People would just start using Reddit for it.
From personal experience, one of the biggest improvements in our guild recently is that a few of our players rely on Archon to find raid talents instead of just using Wowhead guides. And we've actually seen pretty
Did he just say what I just said? Hold on. Let me backtrack.
Instead of just using Wowhead guides.
Hold on.
And some of that I say from personal experience. One of the biggest improvements in our guild recently is that a few of our players rely on Archon to find raid talents instead of just using Wowhead guides.
Yeah, Archon.
And we've actually seen pretty huge boosts in damage from just that, because Archon reflects the game's real meta immediately. Guides, traditionally, are set up with pre-release theory crafting and early results. Once patches land, things often do change fast, though. You can get context from community discords and data from Archon way faster than a guide updates. And because of that, suddenly, well, you'll have found yourself with a genuinely better alternative. I mean, I know going to a Discord isn't faster than bookmarking a Wowhead guide, but that's only true for as long as a Wowhead guide is gospel, and in many cases...
To be fair, if you're already part of the Discord and you frequent it, all the time, it is quicker. You know exactly where to go. If the person running it is organized like I am with my Discord, then yeah, you you filter it to where you get all the notifications and you favorite it so it's like at the top, and yeah, easy. Yeah, I don't see the whole it would take longer, like, you know, Wowhead, you gotta get into a browser, you know. Like maybe you're already in the browser, but you still gotta load the page, type in what you're looking for, get to that page, scroll down to the real info, because there's a lot of fake info on there, and yeah.
They no longer are. And if ZAM isn't willing to invest in the expertise and the experience, then the community will provide it elsewhere. Let me put it this way. Everyone else
That's what I was getting at with the Reddit. I think the community would start making kind of like a Wowhead on Reddit. And yes, there is already like a Wowhead Reddit page, but they would create their own if Wowhead ever like truly went down. I I don't think it would be as good though, because the nice thing with Wowhead is how organized it actually is. Reddit could never be that organized. It would take too many resources.
is slowly starting to eat Wowhead's lunch. And they have no real answer to that, it seems. They have no site director to drive innovation and ensure standards.
I just want to pause it because like he's put it on screen so many times, but it goes off really fast, so I never actually read it. Okay.
Two of their major staff actually left ages ago, and one of their main assets said ZAM has, as I said earlier, quote, truly broken me. The people who run the site are the site, and if Wowhead loses a few more key people,
Right?
ZAM
That's what
are
I was
going to
saying
learn a
earlier.
lesson that we all learned in 2009. No king rules forever, and I'm not trying to
I'm just gonna say I can't see Perk giving up. You know, she ran that site for so long. She was the first. You know, she took that shit over. I see her possibly trying to start up a new project, doing something similar, and maybe having full control, and maybe she, you know, learned her lesson. I hate to word it that way, but like don't hand it over the next time. Um yeah. Yeah, I see her possibly. It might be a bit. She might not even be thinking about it right now, but I think eventually, cuz as someone, I get that not everyone's me, but as someone who has had similar hobbies like that, it's hard to give up stuff even if you get laid off. It's hard to just give it up, especially if you really enjoyed doing it. So, yeah. Plus, wouldn't she need an income? And laid off means no money's coming in. Yeah. And she's got the experience. I actually hope she does that. I'd like to see her, do a similar project and just, get that same team together and don't sell out. Yeah.
be an anti-Wowhead doomer here, by the way. It is the default experience for a lot of people, and I think Wowhead will remain that way for a long time because of its legacy, its database, its history of comments.
Yep. That's what I was
All
saying.
I'm saying is, times change, vibes change. I've noticed it over years and more rapidly over recent months. Seeing Perk being laid off, seeing quality regressions in some of the content, seeing some of the most key staff in that team talk about how the owner of the site has truly broken them, that does worry me. At this rate, Wowhead won't stay on top for long, and once it's not making the money that ZAM needs, it's probably going to follow every other game.
You know who would be on top then? Probably Icy Veins, because they've always been the second best. It's always been Wowhead number one. Icy Veins is like the place you go to when Wowhead's site is down. There are others, but those are the two top top ones that, give out decent info and, more or less accurate most of the time. So, yeah, if Wowhead ever did fully go down, Icy Veins would be at the top.
Site. Manage decline until it's just a shell of its former self. I don't want to see that come, but without the leadership that got Wowhead to where it is, and many of the other people who have defined what Wowhead is for the last 10 years, I think that decline is almost inevitable. The good news, of course, is that when something big falls, there's opportunity. Someone else will step up and take the crown. Or maybe in true World of Warcraft fashion, it'll be a council instead. A council of Archon and all of the different sites that have sprung up to fix specific problems. Maybe that will leave Wowhead just as a database that's left with some ads on. Who knows? But what I think we do know is that for the longest time, Wowhead was insulated from a lot of the rot that happened to a lot of the rest of games media. It now seems it's no longer insulated from that. In many ways, for us as players, that's going to suck. And for Blizzard,
it was bound to get hit. Like, what gets hit? Always the one doing good. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a website, doesn't matter if it's a player. And in my head I was thinking sports. I wasn't thinking games. I was thinking like sports teams, and yeah, they were bound. It was coming around to them. Yeah, because they're doing good, and people trash that shit.
It's also going to suck because let's be real, Wowhead
less money
has been
right?
Blizzard's crutch for years as well. I would love to know what your experience with this has been, and I would also love to know, and I think many people watching this video would love to see in the comments, what sites, what tools, what things do you find yourself using today? I mean, using the likes of Archon has been so great for so many members of my guild. I am sure there are sites out there that I don't know about, loads of other people don't know about, so if you've seen something cool, let us know in those comments. And if you want to take a different track and enjoy what I think is a banger of a story, it's very important to where WoW's going. Watch this next.
For me, there's lots of sites out there. They just wouldn't be as good. They don't have the community base that Wowhead has because, Wowhead has so many people because Wowhead didn't even start as Wowhead. It was Thoughtbot, and that already had people. And yeah, so yeah, it's like there's alternatives. You just won't have as many contributing. Anyway, I think I am gonna go, guys. It's been fun.